This is Talk Local to Me from the Central Virginia Business Coalition. Streaming live each week on Media Squatch Plus and available on demand in the app or wherever you get your podcasts. Local stories, local business, local impact.
Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome back to Talk Local to Me. I'm Heather Alto with the Central Virginia Business Coalition.
And I'm Mike Norfield with Visiting Angels of Lynchburg, America's Choice in Home Care.
Well, we are happy that you're tuning in with us today. And hopefully, you tuned in last year. If you didn't, go ahead and prerequisite this one by going back to last year's first podcast of the year where we talked about goal setting, because that's something we are going to be talking about again today. And we don't have any guests on the show, so it's just me and Mike, and you're going to have to deal with that. And
lucky y'all.
And yep, you're going to enjoy it and you're going to love it. I actually have talked to a couple of people this week leading up to today's podcast and informed them that we were going to be talking today about goal setting, because that seems to be on everyone's mind. And so hopefully if you're someone that I've spoken to and you're listening live, great. And if you aren't listening live and you're just, tuning in after this has been uploaded to wherever you're getting your podcast, maybe you're cooking dinner, maybe you're doing some work and just need something on in the background playing. Hopefully you'll get a little insight and take a little nugget from today's podcast, and it'll kind of help you with your goal setting for 2026.
Right, because I'm not big on resolutions, like New Year resolutions, because they usually last about 2 weeks, and then they just kind of, you forget about them and don't go through. But I feel like setting goals is a different thing, because you're not just saying, hey, I'm going to, eat less Christmas trees or, things like that. Like you're actually like building a habit.
Yeah. I think for me, a lot of what I'm talking about today, and really I wasn't really sure what my word was going to be until the last week or so of December rolling into last 2 weeks of December rolling into this week. And a lot of it had to do with some things that happened just in December that really have set me on a different path for 2026.
Right.
And I'm not going to go into my word quite yet, but it's just some things that I'm looking at for myself personally and professionally that I feel very hopeful will lead me on a kind of in a different direction than where I have been in the last couple of years. So, I'm excited for it. It's different. It's changes. But I think that's good. I think everyone needs some changes. You can't always keep going down the straight path and expecting not to stumble or not to have roadblocks in your way, and, needing to make those changes. And it's better to be ready for them and prepared for them before you hit them.
Right.
So
last year we had a show and we talked about goals. Do you remember your goal from last year?
Sure enough, don't. I can't remember.
So I guess we can't tell if it was.
I didn't go back and listen to it.
Successful or not.
No, it wasn't.
So I'm not sure. I didn't listen.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you remembered or not.
But I remember
not sure.
My goal last year was I think it was to be intentional and have growth.
Well, ironically, that is mine for this year.
It was to have growth. Well, we had growth. We actually hit the previous year's revenue and all that stuff, which is kind of what we track in October. So we had 3 extra months to kind of build onto that. But it was a very hard year work-wise, like just for everybody in the office, just because it felt like we were having to do a lot more to get that extra growth. Right. So we achieved the goal, but at what cost? Right. I didn't really analyze it as much as I probably should have. This year using ChatGPT, like I was able to kind of see like where we hit the goals, and it was, it started talking about what about the goals last year? Like, did you achieve the goals or did you fail goals? And that it's okay for you to change a goal mid-year, right? Or each month even. And to also realize that some goals just don't come to fruition. Like they're going to fail, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right. Because you just need to learn from it and go on. So my word of the year this year is lazy. and before you start thinking like that's crazy.
So wait, before we get into the goals,
Yep.
before we get into before we jump in, I do want to kind of kick off. I do want to talk about a little bit about what we have coming up.
Oh yeah, do that.
With the Central Virginia Business Coalition, just so those of you who are making the goals to do more and be more involved this year can go ahead and start throwing some things on your calendar, because we got a lot coming up. And as part of my goal of being intentional, I want to, I've been getting all these things done way ahead of time, so that, people can be intentional, put things on their calendar and be ready to go, and not waiting for me to throw something up last minute and then saying, oh, hey, okay, there it is.
Oh, I can't do
now
it because I didn't
go. So
I couldn't prepare.
Yeah. So that's one of my big goals. And I've been really, I'm really proud. Like all of our major events, they're set. The dates are there.
You've been rocking it out.
Yeah. The dates are done. The venues are set. Everything's ready to roll. So I will say for January is a big month for networking, just because a lot of people kind of slack off in things like November and December due to the holidays, and they want to jump back in for January. So we actually have quite a bit of networking opportunities in January. And I want to go ahead and get those down on your schedule. We've also made all of our coffee talks. They're now like very, very set, very dedicated days of the month. So, but for January, if you're in the Alta Vista, Campbell County area, you want to get out, you want to network, we're going to be there at the Spark Innovation Center January 22nd. I encourage you to come out and kick off the new year with your business and make some connections. And then the very next day, we're moving our Appomattox Coffee Talks from Tuesdays to Fridays. So Friday the 23rd, we will be at the Appomattox Inn and Suites. So if you're in that Appomattox area, Concord, Pamplin, or you're in the Lynchburg area and you're looking to branch out into Appomattox, we will be at the Appomattox Inn and Suites on the 23rd from 8:30 to 10. That's both of those are from 8:30 to 10. The following week, which is that last week of January, we have two things going on. Tuesday, the 27th, if you are, maybe you are a new member of the Central Virginia Business Coalition, you've been a member for a few months, maybe you're a business that's been listening in, is not a member, but wants to learn more. Or maybe you are a member and then have been a member for years and just want an update on your benefits. We are hosting our first Bagels and Benefits of the year, which is our membership kind of benefit refresher course. That is going to be on the 27th from 8:30 to 10 at the Homewood Suites. And then following that, if you would like to stay, you can run out from between 10 and noon, leave the Homewood Suites, run out, grab yourself some lunch, but hop back over for our first Lunch and Learn of the year. And that's actually going to be hosted by myself. We're going to be doing our Networking 101 Lunch and Learn. I thought that was a very, purposeful Lunch and Learn to hold at the beginning of the year, because people are just trying to get into networking. How do you network? What's the best way to network? I think that's something that scares a lot of people. And I feel like if you have those tools starting the year out, it's going to be more helpful going through it. So
Is
that's
that
our
at the CVABC office?
Nope, that's also at the Homewood Suite. So we're going to be there all day. People can just run out, grab their lunch, and come back. It's free, so it's not something you have to, pay to be a part of. And so that's on the 27th. The Networking 101 is from noon to 1. And then lastly, our coffee talk for January is going to be Friday, January 30th at the Happy Waffle from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. So I put all those are all smaller networking events. We do have major ones coming up as well. Our annual business dinner is February 20th. Nominations are open on our website for those. If you are interested in nominating a business for 10, there's 10 total categories as well. You can go on and nominate that. And then if you'd like to get tickets, February 20th, you can purchase those. They're $60. And we'll be at Legacy Auditorium. We have our theme for this year is diamonds and denim. So you can dress up like you'd wish, or guys, you can show up in your blue jeans. It's going to be very kind of glitzy and Western themed all at the same time. But we're going to have a really great presentation by Butch Jefferson and Tamika Younger. They're going to be doing kind of like a skit / presentation for that event.
That ought to be good.
Yeah, so excited for that. Then our Lead On Summit will be happening March 26th at the Craddock and Terry Hotel in downtown Lynchburg. We're currently securing speakers for that event. And we'll have more information as they come out. And then our Home and Garden Showcase is happening April the 11th at East Glass High School. We have both gyms secure, so we are looking to have a wonderful day that people can come out and learn more about who they can get home and garden services, home services in our area. So those are like our bigger events coming up. Our Empower Women's event will also be hitting, but I'm not going to dive too much into that either right yet. But wanted to just kind of highlight that. I know that just took up quite a bit of time, and I know there may be people that are listening in that are not from our area, and they're just like, "How does this apply to me?" It doesn't necessarily, unless you want to come and join us. We'd love for you to come into Lynchburg and come to any of our events. But with that being said, looking wherever you're at, look around your area and see where you can participate. I think that's really big at the beginning of the year to see where can you network? Where can you grow your business? Where can you get resources from? So even if you're listening in and you're not a business, you're just a community member, support local, go out and find where you can do that. So that's kind of what we've got going on, and hope that we'll see you this year at some of these events.
Sounds good. That's quite a bit of things happening in the next couple months.
It's a lot of things happening.
So I like it. So yeah. So
back to you being lazy.
Back to me being lazy. So my word of the year is lazy, and that may not make a lot of sense to you at the moment, but one of my favorite quotes is, I think by Bill Gates, and it says, "If you have a difficult task, assign it to a lazy person, and they'll find the easiest way to do it." So my word of the year is lazy because I want to work smarter, and I feel like we had the goal of growth last year, and to be quite honest, it caused a lot of burnout on my staff and myself because we were working so hard to work for that growth and sometimes even maintain, because we have we're doing senior care. So people do pass away and things like that. And so, a couple big clients, if they pass away, it can drastically affect our hours for the week and month and all that. So I'm just trying to find to where we can put out the same amount of effort, but have a lot more practical work done. And not just, if we're doing something like in the hiring and we're repeating steps, or it takes a lot of labor time to get something done, maybe there's a system or a service that we can use to make that process easier.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. So my goal, we kind of already alluded to it, but my word for this year is intentional. I didn't remember that was your word from last year, but
yeah, I think it was.
I decided on intentional because the more I looked at it, being intentional means acting with a purpose and having clarity for what you want your goals to be, and acting upon that, not so much just being reactive and jumping into something just because it looks like it may be a good idea. I'm really good at that. I see an idea and I just jump and I'm like, let's do it. And I don't look at the long term, or do I even have the time to fulfill this idea? Or, even in my personal life, I jump to help pretty much anybody who is in need all the time.
Right.
And I don't necessarily always look at how that's going to affect myself, or others around me, whether it's my staff or whether it's the rest of my family or things like that. So, I'm trying to do things with more of a purpose and asking myself, like, why am I doing this before I just jump into doing it? And just recognizing like how I'm going to spend my time and how the decisions that I make, how is that going to affect? And with that, it's also about not, for those of you who don't know my daughter, Autumn, she's very intentional about things. She also has one of those attitudes of, I'm a people pleaser. And that's kind of how I have kind of been in maybe all my life, but definitely in the last maybe 8 to 10 years. And, I always joke that I'm going to channel my inner Autumn, because Autumn is that person where she's not going to cut you any slack. She's not going to care. She cares, but you know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't do something, she's not going to care that you're like, oh, well, if you don't do this, I'm going to do this. She's going to be like, well, then don't do it. Whatever. And, I'm always that person that kind of bows down. I please, I want to make sure like, oh, well, let me fix your issue. Yeah. Let me fix your issue. Or, oh, I've got to do this because if I don't, then they may not be a sponsor anymore. Or they may not do this anymore. Or they may not do that anymore. And I've come to realize, especially in these last couple of months, that I've bowed down enough and it still didn't get me the results I wanted.
Right.
So why did I waste that extra energy on somebody who didn't really deserve the energy?
Right. Because you don't really have the capacity to take everything on.
And that's where I'm going with it. That's where I'm going with it this year. I don't have it in me going into 2026.
And I feel like our words kind of go really well together because like with mine being lazy and just trying to find the easiest way to do things and being more efficient, well, being intentional goes right along with that, right? Because a lot of times it's a whole lot harder to react to something than it is to plan for something, right?
Yep.
And so it's, you've got situations that may come up that are unexpected and you can't really help those. But if you can kind of learn from like, oh, this happened once, it's probably going to happen again. History repeats itself, right? So making sure that we're not doing extra work because of emergencies and being intentional in where we choose to make decisions and what we take on. Because a lot of times we have the feeling, because we're both people pleasers, right? So it's really hard to tell somebody like, no, I can't do that, even though like that they need the help, things like that, but we can't fix everything.
Well, and then speaking in with my staff yesterday, because I was going over, the word, what my word was. And it's also about being more engaged and current in the moment instead of always worrying about the next thing and worrying constantly about this or that. And I am a big worrier. My anxiety gets all up in my feels, and then I start to worry. And I also got to thinking about it the other day, and there's just some things like it is out of my control. There are things that I'm not going to be able to control certain elements of my professional life or my personal life. And to some degree, the people that I'm so worried about, I've got to, just kind of let them understand that, you can be concerned, but I can't control that. And what I can control, I am controlling, and I am worried, and I am doing the things. I'm being proactive where I need to be, but there's no need for me to worry about something currently that I have 6 more months or 7 more months to worry about when I'm trying to make the baby steps to get to where I'm going.
Not to worry about, but to prepare for.
Yeah, to prepare for, or just to, like I said, intentionally start focusing on the things that can, be worked on. But I can't control whether a business closes. I can't control whether a sponsor has to reduce their sponsor level. I can't control whether, a venue has closed down that I used to use. There's just things like, and in anybody's life, if you're out there listening, it's really about, setting that, looking at maybe there's something on your plate right now that you're really concerned about. It's driving you. Your anxiety is super high, and sit down there and break it down piece by piece. What part of that can you actually control versus what part of that is completely out of your control, and instead of having this humongous, massive, big picture that you're just a puzzle that you're trying to put all these pieces together, and it's frustrating you because you can't get like the end piece to go into the piece that, that doesn't fit. Breathe, and little by little, take those pieces and pull them aside and say, okay, I can control this. I cannot control this. And see with the things that you can't control, is there a way to work around it? Is there something you can do, potentially to help? And if not, let it go.
And recognize steps that make things easier. So when you go to do a puzzle, let's say you're doing a 1,000-piece puzzle, where do you start?
Me?
Yeah.
The edges.
The edges. Everyone starts at the edges, right? So building the framework of what you need to do, and just working on piece by piece, it's all going to come together, right? But you can't just put the whole picture together at once. And I think a lot of times people get frustrated because they're like, I have this idea, and then they want it to just be done. And it's like, you have to have the pieces, and sometimes you can't, putting that last piece in is very satisfying, but getting to that point takes a lot of other steps.
Yep.
So you can't just have something happen and boom, it's done. You've just got to take the time and be intentional.
Yep.
And do it the lazy way. Find the easiest way to do it. The easiest way to do it, start with the edges.
Yeah.
Because they're easier to identify.
And I go back to the whole thing about asking yourself, like, what is your why? Like, why are you doing what you're doing?
Right.
in my case, I sat down and I looked at our events. I looked at things that we're doing. And I asked myself, well, why are we doing like this event? What is the purpose behind it? Or maybe it wasn't necessarily the event itself, but why were we doing this piece inside of the event? Like, does this need to happen? Like, for example, our Empower our Empower seminar, for this will be our 8th year of this event. And it's a wonderful event. And it's an event that I stand behind. And if I had to choose one event of all the events we do to keep and had to throw out everything else, it would be this event. The Empower event, I believe very strongly in, and I love, but there's part of that event, and I've changed it year after year. We started with the Athena Award. We had an awards part of the women's event, and we had to pay a massive amount of money for the rights to that Athena Award. So after, 3 or 4 years and trying to get sponsors to cover it, we finally decided, we're no longer going to do the Athena Award. It was great. It was, it has a name recognition to it, but did that name recognition really bring more people? No, didn't.
Did the trophy show up broken?
No, it did. Trophy broke. So, so then we decided, okay, let's just make our own award. So we came up with just the Central Virginia Women in Leadership Award. We had that for 2 years, and, we created our own little award and had nominees and whatever. And so then this year, I'm sitting there looking at the cost to even get our own award, and just not even the cost of the award, but then the energy that you have to put out to, get people to nominate, and then to find judges, to read all the nominees, and to go through all of that. And it's a lot. And so I sat there and I thought to myself, well, is this even needed? Are people coming to Empower because of the 30-minute award ceremony we do for the, Empower Award? They are not. So why is it there? Like, why are we wasting energy, money, and time on something that is not even the focal point of the event? So that's just kind of a big piece of it. So this year there's no award. It's all speakers. It's all about what the event is actually intended for, the why of Empower, which is bringing women together, and listening to these speakers and uplifting each other. And so again, that's what I've been doing a lot of.
I think that's good. It's good to reflect on, like, you talk about why, what's our why, right? So, at the end of the day, it all comes down to like a paycheck, right? Because we have to feed our families, things like that. But we choose where that paycheck comes from, right? And so finding a job that has a purpose that we believe in, and being able to help our community and help, other businesses, things like that. I think you found that, and I found that in what I do. And so, finding the why for each part of our job is also important, right? Like, why are we doing this? So, we host Coffee for Caregivers through Love Heals at our office. They were there this morning, and it's like, I had to do a lot of cleanup because we'd been taking Christmas trees and things like that down. There was glitter everywhere. And so I had to clean up before they got there this morning. I was like, I could be doing a lot of other things other than cleaning up glitter and getting everything ready for people to come in here and just use our space. And then before I left, like, seeing the people that were in the meeting and they were talking and what they were talking about and things like that. And it's like, this really brings value to our community. So it was worth me having to get to work half hour early to kind of clean up. Right. And, but it would be very easy for me to go, oh, we don't need to do this. Like, we don't get anything out of it. Right. But it's not necessarily what we get out of it compared to what our community gets out of it. And that's why we do what we do. Yeah. Yeah. And see, and that's a great why to why you have that program, that comes in. And, we had a 5-hour staff meeting yesterday. Oh my gosh.
I want to say it was a big one. It was a long, extremely productive staff meeting. Myself and Megan and Autumn, and then we even had Terry Heiligen Stack come in and sit in with us, and we had a very productive meeting. And you're one of our delegates. I'm sure you got the email. Did you finish reading? Okay.
I did read it. I even filled out the form. I brought it.
I know. I'm
like, very on time and
very proud
everything.
of you. Very proud of you. But that was another thing. Like, we wanted to be intentional in the programs that we're offering, and we have a program that we've had for years and years and years, and every year I say, we got to do a little bit better. We got to get people more involved. And I've always been this whole like, well, I don't want to make them, they're volunteers and they're doing this. But then I got to thinking about it, and I said, yeah, they're volunteers, but they are volunteering to do this. And so they need to be intentional about this program and what they're doing. This isn't just to come eat free pizza once a month deal. If you're going to come in here and be part of the time that we're putting into it and the effort that we're putting into it, like do that. So we've got some very intentional plans for the delegate team this year. And my first step, which I, was really excited about, was actually, putting out a actual lead delegate. So I have one person on our delegate team that I'm basically making it almost the president of the delegates, if you will, but it's like a lead delegate that I know will actually put in the work and implement plans. And it takes some of that off of myself and Megan, because we don't always have the time. And that's, I'm being very intentional in delegating this year, things that I need delegated. So, having someone that can take minutes and send those to our delegates at the end of the, end of the day, and, check on whether they're attending, or, hey, can you come to this meeting or this event, or, reaching out and encouraging them to do more. I think it's going to be good, going into 2026.
Yeah, I think so.
So again, that's just another thing, but we sat down, yesterday and we went through everything. We went through all of our events. We went through our membership packets. We went through all kinds of things, and we were just like, again, asking the why. Why are we doing this? Or is this going to be beneficial? How can we fix certain things? And I left yesterday feeling really good, probably for the first time in a while.
Right.
And I think as a business owner, so if you're out there, listening, sometimes that's just what it takes. I know sometimes you probably are leaving, and maybe this is even in your personal life, and you just haven't felt good. You just feel unsettled. Maybe I think that's kind of a good word. You feel unsettled. Mm-hmm. And that's how I've been, for quite a bit. And I feel like if you don't take the steps to fix it, as much as I love what I do, or even on my personal side, I love my family, you get burnt out.
Right.
And so you've got to make some sort of change.
Right. Yeah. And so I have a work goal and I have a personal goal.
Okay.
So my personal goal this year is to just make time for myself. Mm-hmm. Right. Because I am terrible at doing that, because it's like, I'm usually at work until like 6:30 at night. And mm-hmm. usually Sheena's texting me like, hey, what time are you coming home? Mm-hmm. When should I start cooking dinner? Things like that. And it's so making time for myself, not just when I'm supposed to be off, mm-hmm. right? But also making time for myself during the day as well, because we can't just go into work and just go. Like, we've got to be able to take a minute to kind of reflect and things like that. And so my work goal is designed to help my personal goal be achievable. Mm-hmm. Right. So if we can find easier ways to do things at work, I'm not going to be there trying to fix a problem or trying to get something done before a deadline, like last minute, like, just kind of, if it's easier to do, it doesn't seem as overwhelming of a task to tackle.
Right.
Right. So, cause the having time for myself, like I wanted to, like, I have tools. I have so many tools. It's crazy, because I have a lot of different machines, things like that. Added a new one this Christmas. So finding all the things that go with the tools and organizing them, getting them together. Like, I wanted to do that like in June, mm-hmm. right? It's still not done, mm-hmm. because I haven't been able to take time for myself to like clean out my garage and get everything straight. And so I go looking for something simple like a screwdriver, and like I've got to dig through like 4 different places because they've been spread out everywhere. So like getting all of that stuff done and set up and everything like that, like, can't do it if I don't make time for it. So
yeah, just
taking time for myself to do things.
So we're going to cut to a quick commercial break, but think about, we would love to hear from you guys about what your goals are. So if you're listening on the podcast and want to shoot us a comment, whether it's, on the podcast thread, or you want to just send us something through our Facebook, our Talk Local to Me Facebook page, we would love to hear what your goals are, for 2026. We'll be right back. Today's podcast is brought to you by Omega Disaster Restoration, located in Campbell County, Virginia. Omega specializes in water, fire, and smoke damage restoration, as well as mold remediation. Their region includes Central and Southwest Virginia, which spans a vast service area from Blacksburg to Charlottesville and Stanton to Danville.
In addition to disaster restoration and full service reconstruction and remodeling, Omega is proud to offer custom all-wood cabinets through their Hanover Woodworking Studio, custom countertops via their Top Solution Studio, and dumpster services through Old Dominion Dumpsters, all part of the Omega family of brands. A beautiful showroom is currently under construction at their Exchange Drive location and will be soon open to the public, showcasing their diverse offerings.
Customers can call 434-616-4659 for emergency assistance with water, fire, smoke damage, or mold remediation needs. Omega provides 24/7 emergency response, ensuring that help is always available. Locally owned and not a franchise, Omega is your first and last call in any emergency, restoring your home or business from beginning to end. For more information about Omega Disaster Restoration and their comprehensive services, please visit omegadisasterrestoration.com/VA/Lynchburg. All right, we're back. How do I set a goal?
How do you set a goal?
How do you set a goal?
Well, let's talk about that. How do you set a goal? Like if somebody's listening and they're like, I have no idea where to even start. I don't know what my goal is.
Or if like a resolution, you set one last year and you're just like, or you're like me, you forgot what it even was.
Right.
By the end of this year.
So like, what's the most popular resolution out there, you think?
I'm going to go with it's either to lose weight,
Yep.
stop smoking or drinking.
Yep.
Or get more like active, do more exercise,
So
things like that.
exercise and lose weight. Okay.
Yeah, I figured.
And so the gyms are packed in January.
Right.
They start to slow down in February.
My goal is to not step in a gym in January. That's my goal.
Why do people fail at their resolutions? Right. Because that's a resolution is a baby goal. It's one aspect of. So if you're going to set a goal, the things that you want to do is you want to define a clear outcome. You want something that you can measure. So let's just take going to the gym for an example. Let's say I'm going to go to the gym more. Well, that doesn't really tell you. That's kind of like, Heather, I want you to go paint that wall.
Yep.
And it's missing a lot of information, like what color, what finish, like, do you want to do the trim a different color? Things like that. Like you've got to have more detail in that. So if you say like, I'm going to work out more, you can't just say I'm going to work out more. You got to say like, I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week. Like that's my goal. And then you can clearly track that because you're like, oh, if I only went twice this week or I went 4 times this week, you're either above the goal or below the goal. Right. So being able to track your goal is important, and not just for a lot of people will set like a yearly goal, things like that, but being able to set something where you can track it as you go. So I want to exercise more. So I want to go to the gym 3 days a week, and then being able to look, and you actually need to write down like, here's when I went to, like, put it on your calendar. This is when I went to the gym. This is, and if you didn't go, why didn't you go? You know, was it, well, it was a busy week. I didn't have time. Now, did you not have time or did you not make time? Because the motivation wasn't there.
And I think that's where you, right there, that part was, I think a lot of us set these set goals, you set resolutions, but then the excuses really, they start to set in pretty quickly.
Right.
And I think a lot of times those excuses come about because you didn't set the appropriate pieces to your goal. You know what I'm saying? Like you were saying, it's enough to say, oh, I'm going to go to the gym. Perfect. But if you didn't set what day you're going to go to the gym and what time you're going to go to the gym and like how you're, that sort of thing, the potential is you're going to get up that morning and go, oh, I'm going to go to the gym. And then 20 other things will happen and you don't go to the gym.
Yep. So don't make that time. You're going to wake up. And so I used to go to the gym every day. Back in the days when I worked in manufacturing, I got up at 4:30 every morning and went to the gym for at least 30 minutes. Right. So the days that I was like, I don't really feel like doing this, I woke up late, had trouble getting everything together. Like I would go for at least 30 minutes and like run or walk on the treadmill. So I did that. I lost like 50 pounds doing that. Right. So, and I wasn't trying to lose weight. I was just trying to get more active. Right. So, but if I didn't, because I would go to the gym at 4:30 in the morning, I would leave at 6:30, and then go to work. Okay. Well, after I go work out, I need to take a shower at the gym and go. So I need to have clothes to wear for the day. So if I didn't pack my clothes in that gym bag the night before, I was a lot less likely to go. Yeah. So you've got a plan to achieve your goal. So you can't just say, well, this is my goal and I'm just going to do better at it. Like actually write out the steps for everything you need to do. So you've got to make sure that laundry's done first of all. And then you've got to make sure that like your gym bag is packed and you're ready to go and you've got what you need. And then you've got to set the alarm. You've got to make sure you go to bed early enough so that you can get up. Because when I was getting up at 4:30 every morning, I was not up till 11, 12 o'clock at night. Right.
Right.
So first of all, I'd gotten up at 4:30 that morning, so I was exhausted and was ready for sleep. So making sure that you got enough sleep so that you can get up, making sure you've got everything prepared so that you can go. Like you've got to break it down into smaller goals, really. Yeah. Like you can make the goal, like I'm going to pack my gym bag every night so that I'm ready, because that's one less excuse you have not to go.
Yeah.
So,
well, and one of the things that I did not, didn't do well this past year, and probably haven't done well in the past couple of years. And also folks listening in, the first thing you need to admit is that you have faults. Yep. There's things that you did wrong. Don't put it on anybody else. There's a lot. So for me, I can be all over the place. I have the best of intentions. I really do.
Right.
But stuff happens, and I didn't set goals properly, or I decided, okay, we're going to do this, but I didn't put the measures in place that actually made it easier to happen. So one thing I know for me in particular is our weekly newsletter. Who the heck knows when that thing's coming out?
Right.
Or at least last year, you didn't know.
Right.
It was just like people would message me and be like, is it coming out? Does it normally come out Thursday or Friday? And I'd be like, I don't know. Comes whenever I put it out
when
there.
I get it together.
Like, hopefully you'll see it next week. And I'd have the best of intentions every week, to get it out there. So that was one thing I really wanted to focus on for this year as part of being very intentional with the things that are our benefits and the things that come out and the things that are happening. And so, I've already reached out to one of our members who had talked to me a couple weeks ago about the fact that she does really well with her newsletter. And she's like, I'd be happy to sit down with you and help you like reconstruct the newsletter. Also, our newsletter stinks. I'm like, I'm going to put it out there.
I've been saying it for years.
It does. It's horrible. It's not horrible. Okay?
It's not horrible.
It's not horrible, but it's very like you open it and it's like there's 50,000 flyers,
right?
And there's no substance. There's no substance whatsoever.
Right.
It's like, here's stuff. Great. So, I want our newsletter this year to actually have some substance to it, some stories, some, we're doing some sponsor spotlights. We're going to do some member spotlights. We're going to still have those flyers in there so people know what businesses are, what's going on.
Right.
But it's not going to be something where you just open it up and it's just like 20 flyers and, whatever. But, so I'm already, going to be working with someone on how to make that look better. And then I very intentionally decided our newsletters are going to go out Friday morning at 9 a.m. I want them to hit Friday morning. That way people can put things on their calendar for the next week.
Right.
Be ready to go.
Right.
And so Thursday at 4 on my calendar is blocked off time, and it's already set for the whole entire year.
Yep.
Make sure newsletter is completed and scheduled for Friday at 9 a.m. And that is on my calendar, and it's blocked off. So nobody can throw another appointment in there at me and things like that. And also because Megan will see it and hound me the dickens out of me to make sure that
I'm going to start calling you every Thursday at 3 o'clock and be like, hey, where's the newsletter?
Believe me, Megan, no, it won't come out till Friday.
I know, but I'm going to be like, is it done yet?
But Megan will do it. Don't you doubt. If Megan sees it on my calendar, I love her to death, but she keeps me, if it's on my calendar,
she holds you to it.
She holds me to it. It is awesome. I love Megan to death because she is that person. Again, I've said it before. We are two totally different people. And so it's always good to have that person.
And it's good with any goal to have accountability. So Megan's being your accountability for that as well.
And what I love about her, she doesn't do it in an annoying way. Some people would be like, oh my God, Megan, don't stop.
If Megan's listening, I think she does it in an annoying way.
She doesn't. She's super. It's just, she'll be like, oh my gosh, I saw on your calendar. You have this. Did you get it done? I just want to make sure you got it done. I'll mark it off. And I'm like, I think she has a separate check-in sheet for me that she marks off.
I have a Megan in my office as well.
I'm not sure, but she.
I have a Megan in my office that if I have something on my calendar, she'll tell me when I walk in, like, don't forget about this, and I'm like, oh yeah, thank you. So yeah.
So I'm but that's just something that I've found, and that kind of almost goes into your lazy task because it's like, I knew we had to do it, but I would let other things pop up that I felt were more significant. And
isn't it so much harder to do? Like you want it to go out at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, and then I'm trying to do it last minute.
So like 8 o'clock Friday morning, you're like, oh my gosh, the newsletter, right?
Really
and then you're pushing to get it done. So I run a senior networking group, which is just for people in healthcare and things that deal with seniors. And I run that group. So I do newsletter and get events and I tell them like it's going to come out the first Monday of every month. Well, I did tell them in the 3 newsletters ago, like for November, December, and January, it's probably not going to be the first Monday because the holidays, it's a busy time for us, things like that. So like it's going to be a little bit later, but we always meet the third Tuesday. So I always have that in the morning. And then right after that, we have the delegate meeting. So the third Tuesday of every month is very busy for me. So, but I always get it out before then, and it's got like where the next meeting is because it moves around and events that people have going on and things like that. And I had to learn very quickly because before me, there was no newsletter that went out. It was just kind of like an email that went out to people. So using, to quote my wife, resources that are available to me, we use MailChimp for something at work. So I was able to put a separate little segment in there and set something up so that when I do the newsletter, I don't have to try and track down everybody's email addresses. I can copy the previous month's newsletter, take out the events that have already gone by, add in new ones that people have emailed me and things like that. Like it makes it a lot easier to manage where I can do it in 15 minutes as long as there's nothing major that I have to change or track down. And so it takes up a lot less time. And the first couple months that I was running that group, like it took me probably 3 hours to try to find everybody's email address and copy and figure out how to merge it into my email and send. And then, if you put too many recipients in an email, a lot of times the spam filter will block it out, right? Because they're like, oh, this is obviously a spam email. So, I had to find ways around it. And now it's, it takes 15 minutes, but I also have to schedule that time.
Right. Yeah.
To get in there.
So for those listening that maybe have their goals, they've picked their goals in place. What are the actions? Like, what are the next steps? What are like, when we're turning those goals into actual actions and tangible, I know we've talked about putting stuff on your calendar, making sure that you have those baby steps to support that, the main goal. But, once you've got those, how are you actually implementing? Anything? You're just shaking your head like, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, how are you going to implement those goals? So like mine is to be lazy. So we're already working on a new hiring platform. Yeah. A new hiring platform that should make it'll be easier for us to post jobs. Because a lot of times we cover like pretty much all of Central Virginia, right? So we may have a client that needs care in Good, right? And we don't have a lot of caregivers in Good. So we may need to post about a job post in Good. Well, the steps that we had to do before that was, one, it had to come through me, which is always a weak point, right? Because I have a lot going on. So it had to come to me. I had to email the person who managed our account for Indeed and SEO and all those things and say, hey, I need to do a new job post and I need to sponsor it for this much. And it needs to cover this area and it needs to say it's for this. And it was like it literally would take a day, right? Half a day to get all that done. Now, anybody in my office can go, hey, we've got a client in Good. Our new software has a function where you hit Smart Post and it draws a map in the area of where it's going to be on the map, so that when people apply, they can see like where the job's going to be, where they'll be working, and all the information there. And it's a whole lot easier for us to switch. So now it should be like a 15-minute thing to post a new job. Yeah. Instead of a half a day. Okay. And it depends on me being in the office to be able to send the email and the information and all that. So that is going to make it a lot easier for us to kind of target where we're hiring and things like that. So it's one of the things, just finding new systems that will work better than what you're currently doing. Right. So, because we've got, we had a goal for growth last year and we didn't grow every month. And, when we look at that, it's very easy to kind of make excuses of why we didn't grow that month. Like, oh, we had a couple clients pass away. We had a really big client that their long-term care insurance ran out. So they cut their services way back, things like that. Right. And it's real easy to say, well, that's out of our control. We can't help it. But we should constantly be adding new clients and things like that. So one of the things we're looking at this year is to make our onboarding process for clients a lot easier, right? And to have the follow through that we need to do it. And it's really easy to say like, oh, well, with every client, we're going to have follow through. We're going to follow up with phone calls and emails and texts and all that things. But it takes time for a person to do that. And, this time of year, our phone rings like 4 or 5 times a day for people looking for care. Yeah. So you multiply that by 5, you're looking at like 25 to 30 people that are calling a week. And the time it takes to follow up with all of those multiple times is hard. So it takes a lot of time.
I think too, if you're out there and you have your goal and you're thinking like, okay, I'm gonna start this new program, or I'm gonna, start, like I was talking about, just being intentional with whether it's a new event. I get people that constantly, probably monthly, ask me like, hey, can you partner with us on this event, or
Right.
you should do this event. And in the past, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. And I'd come up with it. And then I realized after I said yes, or after I got excited, that those pieces really aren't going to all fall into place the way I wanted them to.
Right.
And so part of that, like for me, I know, and I suggest to other people listening in, is if you have something like that, if it's whether it's a new event or whether you're looking into something like a new job or a new person, before committing to a new piece of the puzzle in your life, wait about 48 hours. Mm-hmm. Mull over it for maybe even just 48 hours, and sit down and ask yourself, does this serve either the business that I'm working for, the goals of the business and the community, or is this serving the person that you want to be? Like, is this going to time suck your energy so much
Right.
that it's going to keep you from doing the things that you want to do with family and friends and, that sort of thing. And just instead of just feeling like you should do it and just doing it because it sounds good or you feel like you should, it's really, asking yourself, is this serving, the purpose that I want it to serve?
Right.
And sometimes that clarity doesn't come right away. I mean, some things, yes. I mean, if somebody says, hey, you want to go play on the railroad tracks, hopefully you're going to say no. Like, that's
Right.
not going to serve the purpose you're hoping for. But, if someone's asking you to do like a new event or something, sit back and I joke about, I was watching Gilmore Girls. I love Gilmore Girls for anyone who cares, but I was really sick last week, and I spent a good majority of my time on my couch binge watching Gilmore Girls. So like I'm season 1 through 6, and it's only been like a couple 4 or 5 days. Like I've been straight up like without and my husband came home actually, and he had the theme song in his head while he was walking through one of his businesses yesterday, and he was like, I cannot be in here with you anymore.
Right.
But there's the episode where, and if y'all don't like Gilmore Girls, you're not going to know what I'm talking about, but there's an episode where Rory is trying to decide which college to go to, whether it's Princeton, Yale, or Harvard. And so they have the pro-con list out, and they're
Right.
constantly pro-conning. And, nowadays you don't really think of that anymore.
Right.
But in this sort of way, like the whole committing, waiting 48 hours or so, create a pro and con list. I think like sometimes old school is the best way to go. And decide like, is it going to serve the purpose? What are the pros to this versus what are the cons? And see where, you're kind of sitting at.
And so
with your goal.
even modernizing that a little bit. So there's something called Goblin Tools. And you can just Google Goblin Tools. It'll come up. It's a series of AIs that are set to kind of, they're for people who don't really know how to do like tackling something new or something like that. Mm-hmm. And one of the things is a time tracker. So it'll actually tell you how long steps should take in a process, right? How long it should take once you've got it down. So, saying like, hey, let's do a new event. Let's do a 8-hour podcast and have different people come in every 15 minutes and we're going to talk to everybody, right? Well, how do you plan on that? Like, how long is it going to take to plan all that out and contact people, get people lined up, make sure people show up, like all that sort of thing? Like, it'll tell you how much planning time it would take for that.
You brought that up.
No.
It was like a year ago. I really did look up the Guinness book, like the world, like the longest podcast or the most guests or something on a podcast. And I truly thought, because with all the members we had, I was like, I really wonder if we could make that work and actually keep Talk Local to Me on for like a world record breaking amount of time. I cannot remember at this time. I got to go back and look, but it was so many hours, and it wouldn't even be necessarily like you and I had to host that all the time. The Talk Local to Me just had to keep going. So even if we had like Jennifer come in and host for an hour, you know what I mean? So we got rest. Anyway, it was pretty cool. I was thinking about it and I was like, that would be crazy to do, but it's just funny you mentioned that because that would be a really, really cool. If Woody's listening in, we need to do that. We break a world record, put Media Squatch on the map with Talk Local to Me.
A team of Dutch podcasters set a world record by broadcasting continuously for 153 hours, about 6.4 days, during Dutch Media Week in October 2022. This is one of the longest uninterrupted podcast marathons recorded. I think we could do that.
Yeah, we could do a podcast for 7 days and bring all of our members on.
I think that's,
yeah.
I mean,
people just need to bring me food.
Right.
And pizza and stuff.
So
That's all I need.
I
And
think
coffee.
Woody could handle a solid 7 days.
Yeah. I mean, who couldn't? I mean, look at Emma over there. She's ready to go.
Think
7
of all the
days
content
behind the
reels.
Yes, that'd be awesome.
So
But anyway, that
I
would be
think
really
Emma just emailed in her resignation.
Emma said, Heather, you need to wait 48 hours to think on this, and we'll bring it back. Bring it back up for discussion.
So,
But no, and I think that also turns into, once you've got your goals, once you're implementing them goals, how do you stay on track without burning out by the end of the year?
Right.
Because, again, a lot of people, I would say probably 90% of us, can set a goal, set a resolution, and then kind of like Mike asked me earlier, what was yours? I didn't remember by the end of the year because stuff just happens.
and so not to call you out, but because you didn't stick to it and you weren't intentional in
we
your
might have
goal.
stuck to it. I just don't remember.
Right. You may have, but if
I don't think I did.
if you didn't track it, you don't know. And you should be able to look back. This is all new to me this year. So I'm not saying that I did this last year. Now it's different for me because I wanted to have growth, like revenue growth and things like that. Of course, I track that weekly. So I was able to kind of keep up with that. And while we were one of the fastest growing Disney Angels in Virginia, which I was proud of, we grew by like 28% or something like that over the year. But we had some months where we should have grown and we were actually behind. Right.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how January ends because I'll be able to see like, how did it compare to last year? Right. Because the first 4 months of our year last year were the reason we had growth last year because those months, like, I'm surprised, I didn't have staff quitting left and right. But we had an immense amount of growth and it hurt. It was painful, but we grew.
Yeah.
And so my goal is to do the same thing this year, maintain it throughout the year and do it with the same amount of work, right? Like the same amount of stress and work. Like I don't want it to be more. And, the stress can definitely be less. And so we're actually looking at adding new staff members to our office to kind of where are our pain points? Where do we struggle, right? Where do people get frustrated? Because we talked about goals in our meeting on Monday. And I said, I want everybody to set a personal goal and I want you to write that down and put it away somewhere. And you don't have to share that with anybody. You just make a goal for yourself. And then also make a kind of professional goal. Like, what do you want to see at work? Like, what is hard that you want to get better? And one of my staff members was like, I got a whole list. I'm like, I know you do. And we're working on those because it's been the last 3 months of the year were just painful. There was a lot of burnout in our office and things like that because we're all very driven and we're all pushing to be the best. But nobody tells you that to be the best, it comes at a cost, right? You've got to do that. And if we're not growing, is it because we don't have enough staff in the office to help split up the duties enough? Right.
Yeah.
And, I'm the worst at delegating things out because I'm like, well, I can just handle it. Like it's not a big deal. Right. And I've got to get to where I'm willing to hand things off and not do them myself. So,
yeah, I think definitely having a weekly check-in, whether it's with yourself or your staff, I'm trying to make sure we can't always have a staff meeting every week.
Right.
But
especially not a 5-hour one.
Right. But we did talk about yesterday that we would be having a relatively long one at the beginning of every month. And then potentially after that, it's just going to be maybe a quick an email check-in with my staff every week. Yeah. Just like, hey, tell me what you got done this week that,
and with
this and that.
The small enough staff like you have, like it's easy to have a little quick check-in.
Yeah.
Even in person, because at some point during the week, y'all are all
we're all together. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then just, tracking your progress. So even for me, like right now, just the small fact of like, yes, I put the calendar on there, the thing to make sure we do the newsletter. So I can track then weekly. Did it go out? Was this successful for me at the end of the year? Did that one little thing right there, did that equal success in that area? Did, adding a lead delegate to our team, did that at the end of the year, was that more successful? Did we see more of our delegates participating and being a part of different things?
I think so.
How's that going to work?
Being a delegate, getting the email this morning saying that Terry's going to take notes at each meeting. Because a lot of times, like you're running the meeting, so you can take notes, right?
Oh, yeah.
And there's always something else going on and people are walking in and wanting things and things like that. So having somebody dedicated just to take notes so that if something is said at a meeting, it's not like, I think we said this, right? Because that happens a lot just in anything, right? You'll have an idea and you'll say it out loud. And I'm famous for like, the first time I hear it is when it comes out of my mouth and like, oh, this is a great idea. Let's do this. And it is a great idea, but because it isn't written down and memorable. Like, you know, I have the same idea every 3 months sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this would make this a lot easier. If I don't write it down and do something, I have notes all over my desk because I've started, if I have a thought like, oh, this might be good, I write it on a Post-it note. And I got a little box on my desk and it goes in there. Right. And then I'll dig through that every once in a while when it gets full and be like, all right, which one of these, you know, and I found that I had one idea written down like 3 times until it's in there. So it's like, oh, maybe I should actually like act on that. So
yeah. I think it's definitely good to keep those ideas there. I mean, I'm not saying every idea is a bad idea and like, you know,
no, but
it just might not be the right time for that idea.
Right.
And that's where you have to learn to just not say yes to everything and just be like, okay, I'm going to compartment. Like I'm going to put this in a little space.
Be intentional in what you say yes to.
And and be intentional in what you say yes to and the relationships that you're building. But know that it's okay to say no. I think for me, that's a big part of it. I feel like it, and I think again, when my staff and I were talking about this yesterday, they said that they can see where for me, because I am the face of the Central Virginia Business Coalition. And for me, saying no to something in my mind, it's like people are going to be like, oh my gosh, like she's not doing that. And my business, you know, she needs to do this because my business needs this or blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And like, sometimes you just got to tell people like, it's not going to happen right now. It doesn't mean it will never happen. It doesn't mean that I don't care about your business or I don't care about the community or this or that or whatever. It just means that right now I'm not going to do the best job for you that I can because it's not, you know, it's just not the right time for that. And I want to be able to do these events and focus on these things and make them successful. I don't want to just have them there, if that makes sense. I don't just need it to be there because it's there and, oh yes, it's an event. I need it to be something that's successful and it's actually going to be something that will grow and continue to grow and actually have positive reactions versus it being something thrown together that's when the negative Nancy's come out and go, well, you know, you could have done this better. This could have been done, you know, it just looks thrown together.
We started talking about last year until we were blue in the face about nobody understands how much it takes to run a business behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Right. To an outside onlooker in my office, it looks like I just sit in my office all day and don't do anything, right? But I'm doing things that have to be done in order to keep the doors open and payroll going.
It's funny that you mentioned that too, because, you know, Terry Halliganstadt does a lot with us, volunteers. She does a lot of things. But it was funny after the staff meeting yesterday, after really sitting down and listening to me go over, like, here are things that need to be done, or just the tossing of ideas around and how we could do different things. When we got finished, Terry looked at me and she said, I really didn't realize all of the things that go into it. I mean, it's one thing to come to the event and volunteer and see us running around like crazy or checking people off a registration list. But that's so much more goes into it.
Right. The day of the event is usually the easiest day of the event.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. So, you know, it's the leading up to the fact that, Centerfest is, you know, September the 20th this year, but we're already planning. Like things are already, people are already messaging us. Things are already happening for that. So it's not like I wake up on September 18th and go, oh, I got an event to put on. Let me, you know, get some vendors and, you know, y'all just all show up.
Right.
Show up at 7.
You know, the day everybody shows up, we'll figure out where they're going to, like, first come, first serve. Like, that's not going to work.
Just grab a booth space.
And
Although, I'm just kidding.
The biggest issue is that, like, especially Centerfest, I feel like is probably one of the smoothest running events for as big as it is for the CVBC. The problem is that it goes well and you make it look easy.
Yeah.
So nobody realizes all the work that goes in to make it easy, right? Not saying it's easy, but you know, it looks like it's well executed and things like that, and looks like this doesn't really seem that hard. Well, try it, because it running smoothly is years of trial and error. There is something that goes wrong every year that makes it like, all right, we're going to fix this issue, right? And it makes it even better the next year. Yeah. So, you know, it takes a lot more than just boom, show up the day of.
Right.
And I think a lot of people forget that for a lot of different things. Right. So.
Yep. So, wow. Another great episode of Goals.
Yeah, I like it.
I feel like it's been great. I feel like one of the things that I want to be more intentional about with the podcast going into 2026, and it's definitely something we can think about on it for 48 hours.
Right. I'll let you know Friday.
Yeah. But no, I do think that I love us having our guests in each week and talking to them about themselves and their business. But I do want to be more intentional with talking local like we're doing today on just issues and potential, actual topics versus just having guests in every single week. So whether it's we have a topic at the beginning and then a guest, or, one week where it's just us talking about topics and no guests, and then having guests for the rest of the month. I don't know. But I think, that's something I want to look at, actually having it serve more of a purpose for these sorts of things that people can listen into and reflect on and take back into their business or,
So if you're listening to this podcast
Yep.
and you own a business, run a business, work for a business, which is just about everybody.
Like a business.
And you have a question or a topic that you want us to talk about, either email heather@cvabc.org or go to our Facebook page and send us a message, send us a comment, leave a comment on this episode, anything like that. But get it to us because we would love to have, because you don't know what you don't know. Like, what challenges are you facing in 2026?
And I know there's a lot of challenges.
Right.
That are out there, and we're not going to come out here and go, oh, well, so-and-so from this business has this challenge. Like, we're not going to throw you out there.
Or even better for our armchair quarterbacks out there, what do you see a business doing that you're like, they're struggling with this?
Oh, that's a good one.
You tell us something like, why does it take so long to put an event on?
Yeah.
Different things like that.
Yeah.
So,
because remember, for those of you out there listening, this podcast is for you. It's because of you. We host these every week because I can talk to Mike just talking to Mike, but we do these because we want to bring, you businesses in our area that you can, build relationships with and can learn more about. But we also want you as a listener to take some of the things that we say and be able to implement them into your daily and say, hey, I really enjoyed listening to Talk Local to Me because I got this information or I learned this. Or
I got encouragement.
Yeah.
I realized I wasn't the only one struggling with this.
100%. And I think that's one thing Mike and I are very good about is being open and honest and out there. We don't really gatekeep.
The bad, and the ugly.
100%. Yeah. So that's kind of what I want to see. I want to see we're going into what, year 5 for me. It'll be like, it's a lot of stuff. Woody sent me a picture yesterday of like the very first. It was actually what got it all started, and it wasn't for Talk Local to Me. Let me see if it showed me how many years it was, but it was more about my very first 5 years ago.
You came on Cool Talk or something?
5 years ago, I had my first podcast interview with Brandon Brown on Cool Talk, and that is what launched in that little teeny tiny table. But that is what launched Talk Local to Me. So yeah, going into year 5 of Talk Local to Me this year. So that's definitely not something I take for granted, but we want to make sure that there's a purpose behind it. And we're being intentional with why we have this podcast. So there we go. That's what I got to say.
Oh my God, I can't believe it's been 5 years.
I know.
And it's been this will be my 3rd year?
Your 3rd? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a lot. Also, if you're listening in, I just want to bring this up before we leave. We have launched a new program, a new benefit through kind of a spinoff of Talk Local to Me, except this is a visual. It's kind of like almost like a talk show style broadcast called Teatime, where we are spilling the tea with local businesses in our community, and they're sitting down for a quick rapid fire 15-minute interview about their business and about really the people behind the business, not necessarily the business as a whole, but the people behind the business. And we're really excited for this new opportunity here, and we hope that you guys will tune into that. You can check out our first episode just hit. You can go to our Facebook page, Central Virginia Business Coalition, and then you'll find the link. We have it up on our YouTube channel. We have a new YouTube channel for the Central Virginia Business Coalition. It's CVABC Local, and would love for you to go on there and subscribe to that, so you're being able to see those tea times each week as they're being broadcast. We're going to be building up that channel, not just with tea times, but also some local content. We're really pushing out social media and local content this year, building our platforms, and so we would love for you to go out and subscribe to that as well. And hopefully we'll actually have the subscription link up on our Facebook page too, and in our newsletter this week. So there you go.
Very cool. That's a lot of information.
A lot of information. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in to us today. Hopefully you're setting your goals. Be intentional or lazy or whichever you'd like to be for 2026. But make sure... I'm going to be intentionally lazy. Intentionally lazy. But make sure you're clicking and subscribing and hitting the notification bell. Be intentional about that so that you are listening in to Talk Local to Me every week. And for more information about any of the events and the information about being a member or sponsor of the Central Virginia Business Coalition, you can find that at
cvabc.org. Have a great week. We'll see you next Wednesday.